Destro and Baroness and call it a day. You know, I want to get into a lot of the more cutty stuff, which is, I think, hopefully what people even see in the first wave of reaction. I mean, I'm not trying to make your transition for you. We can finish up with Ultimates, but you know, it's the same thing. Like, I don't think anybody was expecting Quinn to be in wave one. I started having some of these characters that I really didn't have the way I wanted them before. Like, and Quinn is a perfect example of that.
Let's talk about that because not only was the first series of Ultimates revealed today, but also, I don't know, is this one wave of reaction? Is this two waves of reaction?
Oh, this is just one.
One wave. Okay, so by my count, if I've got this right, there are, what, 8 individual figures, but then a couple of those have like up to 6 different versions that are coming out. So let me make sure. We've got Cobra Commander, Baroness, Destro, then Cobra Trooper, and what, 6 different?
There's 6 iterations of the Cobra Trooper.
6 iterations of the Cobra Trooper. Okay. For the Joes, we've got Snake Eyes, Scarlet, the aforementioned Quinn, and then what, 3 different versions of the green shirt then?
3 different versions of the green shirt.
I'm used to the Ultimates world with things, you know, building at a regular pace, but with reaction, it just feels like right from the very beginning, it's like, boom, here's your army, and you've got this, you're going to be able to build this gigantic collection right away, right?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I think the thing for me when I talk about the army, so the way the reaction wave is set up is like there's 4 Cobra and there's 4 Joes. There's 3 regular figures and 1 army builder for Joe, 3 regular figures and 1 army builder for Cobra. And that's roughly the formula we're working on. So you're getting 8 characters per wave. And obviously with reaction, unlike Ultimates, is I am having to make ahead of time and I'm having to pre-guess because these are in hand.
Wow.
Like, which we'll pull some out, but like September, you will be physically buying these. Like they can show up in your mailbox.
Yeah.
So I am having to guess how many we need. And obviously we're working with different partners to do that and stuff. And I will say right now ahead of time, if for whatever reason we have under ordered, don't freak out. We'll go back and make more.
Okay.
Like, once again, my job is not to make this hard or difficult or painful or expensive for you to get. It's supposed to be fun. So if for some reason we have miraculously under ordered and there's not enough to go around, that'll be like, cool out, wait 3 months, 4 months, however long it takes me to get a next production run over. We'll make more of the same ones so that everybody has a chance to get them. Awesome. Like, I don't want it to be hard. And at the same time, if we are talking about something like army builders, which I will grab the green shirts, it's not that I'm trying to make you buy 3 green shirts. Right. There are some guys that do, but it's like, you need a green shirt hasn't been made. Like, we've never had a green shirt, a true green shirt. So it's like, okay, cool. But the reality is, if you are that army builder guy, there's a built-in variant for you. And if you just happen to be a guy that might not look like this guy, there's a guy that looks like you. Because if you had an army, you'd have a bunch of different skin tones in your army. And I'm not trying to play some big role on that. It's just very matter of fact to me. It's very surprising that this didn't exist in some capacity. And so when we talked about it, we're just like, the army builders, they should feel like they came out of, I don't know, the real world a little bit more.
Right.
And so that's where we started with the sort of pink, tan, and brown on the skin tones, so that you could have that figure that you want. And if it's something that you want multiples of, great, but you don't have to. I'm not trying to make it like where some people are like, oh, they're force making variations to make me buy more. I'm not asking you to buy more. If you want a green shirt, pick one.
Right.
One is not rarer than another. They're
okay.
all
that
the
was
same.
my next question then. Yeah.
Nope. They're all the same. They're all identical. The trickier part was when we came back to it, is that there are inconsistencies in the show. So then what do you do here?
Right.
Where in the show, and it changes all over the time, on the back straps of these figures, sometimes they're shaped like an H and sometimes they're shaped like a Y. So we're like, yeah, you kind of got to make both.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be that guy that is like, no, the guy shooting the gun over here in the corner's got the Y strap, but the guy over here on the infantry's got the H strap. Like,
Right.
how do we do that? And obviously it makes it hard to see from the front which one the back is. That's why some have a yellow back and some have a
Color
red
coded.
back.
Okay.
So they're color coded. So I have to look sideways here. So the H back is yellow, the Y back is red.
All right.
So if you are that person that does appreciate that attention to detail and likes the fact that we were nerdy enough to make both backs, great, we made that for you. But if you just want to have a Cobra soldier, you just need one.
Right.
Just grab one. It's not any more than that.
So then does the H back and the Y back, does that follow the same kind of pattern of the different skin tones? Then there's one of each for each one. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You touched on him too. Quinn, man.
Yeah.
That to me is my favorite.
Be my favorite figure from the wave. Quite honestly.
Me too. How'd you land on Quinn as the guy for this first wave?
How do you not land on Quinn? Come on, look at that.
He's
guy.
the mighty Quinn, right?
Yeah, and with the removable bullets around him and everything. It was one of those things where it's just like, that's one of those things. I mean, this is issue 2 of the comic book, and he never really got his due. So we were like, all right, where can we get? I mean, we kind of have to get a couple of the heavy hitters in here,
right?
But we've also got to make room to show you, I guess, for a lot of the people that aren't familiar with us, like where we're planning on going, which is into all the nooks and crannies of this line. We're going to make all those characters that never really got their shine.
And like Ultimates, Reaction is kind of built with being able to build a universe that's larger than any single property, right? With a consistent style and scale all throughout, right?
Yes, completely.
Yeah. And these are going to follow that because, Joe has, at least the real American hero, Joe has its roots in that similar 3 3/4, scale. But with a line or a property like this, I'd be remiss with not asking you about this, is that these are reaction figures and follow that. And there's no certain builds or rings or things. I mean,
that in the very first meeting we had, the very first question was, can we make O-ring?
Yeah.
And there's one is that a reaction figure if it's got O-ring? But more than anything, really what it came back to was like, they've made O-rings stuff off and on up to this day. And I can't say more about it than that, but O-ring is the G.I. Joe figure that Mattel makes. And that is what they put on the shelf. Yeah. I'm sorry, Hasbro. I apologize deeply. O-ring.
Just so everybody's clear.
Yes, that Hasbro makes. And when you walk into a store and you see a G.I. Joe figure sitting on the peg, more often than not, even with modern articulation, they make O-ring centric G.I. Joe figures. They're not all O-ring centric, and we can get into the nitty gritty of all the different variants and different types and swivel joints that aren't O-rings and all sorts of stuff. But that hyper articulated O-ring inspired body type, that is the product that Hasbro makes. What we are making is not what Hasbro's making. Hasbro doesn't need me to make what they make,
right?
For lack of a better description. So what I am making is reaction figures, which is 5 point of articulation, which is sort of this mix between what would have happened if Star Wars and G.I. Joe would have mixed versus them taking down sort of the articulation that you would have seen in a 12-inch Joe that then happened in Micronauts and everything else that they eventually applied to G.I. Joe. This is a different take on the classic Joe figure. Right. It is not meant to replace or circumvent the O-ring articulation, but Hasbro has been making O-ring or O-ring inspired articulation and will continue to be making O-ring and O-ring inspired articulation. So when you talk about that kind of articulation, that is a product that you buy from Hasbro. So for us, we have to make a product that is different from what you buy from Hasbro. It's the same thing. Like, that's the first thing that came to our mind, and same thing with other people. Like, well, I wanted O-ring, and it's like, I know you wanted O-ring, but those are the people that you need to talk to when you want O-ring.
Right.
When you don't want O-ring and you want 5 POA nostalgic figures, that's when you talk to Super 7. So that's what really this line is taking what we do in Reaction and restyling it to really fit G.I. Joe.
I appreciate that clarity for sure, and to kind of lend itself to that style as well, because we talked about it in Ultimates. At least from the beginning, is Reaction going to kind of follow that same style of mainly going from animation, or is it going to borrow from?
We're going to go all over the place. Obviously, it's very clearly right out the gate. Here's Quinn from the comics. So yeah, we're going to go all over the place. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff within the cartoon. That's where we're starting from. There's a lot of little things like, you know, how just handling the stars on her gloves that and the little white band or off gray band that went across the top of her gloves. That was like, drove me crazy as a kid, that, you know, wasn't reflected in the toy the way I would like to have seen it. You know, there's just a lot of little things that, you know, we're trying to do, like this Baroness, like the original Baroness in blue. Like it's, yes, technically it got made eventually, but it never really got made the way I thought I would like to have seen it. And I'm not trying to disparage anybody, because somebody's going to forward this to somebody and get mad that I'm not trying to disparage anything or anything, but it's like, this is the original Baroness, not black, not gray, not midnight navy. Like, this is the first Baroness with you got to have the green tinted glasses. I mean, we talked about everything. I even talked about Major Juanita Hooper. You know, so you never know where we're going to end up.
That's awesome. And, you know, talking about getting, you know, certain characters in their original or what you've always wanted, or talking about, you know, your favorites that you have in these initial offerings, and like Quinn and the Bat and whatnot. But for Brian Flynn, I mean, who's your G.I. Joe character? If you were forced to pick one, who's your guy?
I mean, I hate to sound really cliche, but as a kid, I think like everybody else, you were like, Snake Eyes. And all black. Like, how cool is this guy? You know? So, you know, as a kid, because it was driven more by the toy, not the animation, it was Snake Eyes. I'm trying to think, if I'm talking about cartoons, I think there's a lot of really deep cut stuff that's super interesting that I think we're going to start getting to very quickly in Reaction. Obviously, the difference between Reaction and Ultimates is it's a much more affordable price point. And
is it faster moving too in terms of production?
It's very much faster moving. So, you know, while we're talking about this today, you know, I've already got samples of Wave 2 and Wave 3 in hand, like, you know, and it's much easier to get in on convention exclusive type stuff or special event exclusive stuff or anything else like, and there's a whole lot of really fun and unexpected things that we're doing in that line that I think people are going to get really excited about, and either they're going to be into it or they're not, but that line's going to get robust real quick. Because they're fun and inexpensive. And that's the whole point. Is like, I want to make all these goofy side characters that you never would have thought could have got made. Like, even Wave 2 has all sorts of stuff that's like, oh, you guys are going there? Wow. Okay.
Well, not that we're getting ahead of ourselves.
I can't
at this point, right? But you know, you mentioned, you know, exclusives and things like that. I mean, is you know, if we get back to a point where we have conventions again and even stores, because, you know, you use partners for, you know, various like repaints or different editions of things. Is that something that we're going to come to expect from Joe too? Yeah,
there's definitely going to be some. Like I said, much like Ultimates, I go into any type of exclusive with somebody not with the idea or mindset that exclusive is going to be uber limited and it's just available for like a week and no one got it, or 2 hours or whatever it is. It's like, if we're going to make something with somebody, got to make it so it's significant enough that everybody can get one. I don't like the idea of making it painful to get this stuff. This stuff is supposed to be fun. You're supposed to enjoy the process. Yes, sometimes there needs to be a little bit of chase in it, like, oh, I
Yeah.
had to go to this store versus here. But it shouldn't be, sort of these the part-time hobbyist scalper world that it is
Right.
in a lot of cases for a lot of lines of toys. Part of my goal in all of this is making it fun and making it accessible, which also means that it doesn't always sell out in an hour.
Right.
It doesn't immediately move on the secondary market. And there's definitely some people that will not like that. They want it to be expensive and hard to get and exclusive.
I'm not one of those guys. So
I just want to make it and share it with people. And that's the exciting part for me. I can't control the secondary market or what people are interested in. If it magically becomes valuable at some point, great. But if it doesn't, also just fine. My goal is if you paid $18 for this Quinn, it's always worth $18. There's never a time when it's only worth 10 or 12.
Right.
But if it's all of a sudden this Quinn is $300, then we need to make more Quins.
Yeah.
Because it shouldn't be $300.
Yeah. Be it, store exclusivity, or even within the line, because when you talk about something like Ultimates, you're not faced with some of the same restrictions that are like at retail lines and whatnot. It's like everything needs to fit into the same size packaging. Everything needs to come in at, the same price point. I mean, just Silverhawks had just ended. I mean, Monstar is a gigantic figure. He's in a bigger, box and whatnot. So Joe has, some potential there. I mean, are you guys already thinking about, because Joe's got big vehicles, right? But Joe's also got small vehicles too, right?
Joe has vehicles for days.
Yeah, yeah.
I think there's not, but it almost feels like at times that there's as many vehicles as there are characters.
Mm-hmm.
That is by far not the case. But no, we're definitely, the crazy part is that there's so many vehicles that have never been made.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part to me. And I'm going to say this because it would be ridiculous because I don't even know how we would pull it off. Like, if you're talking about the first miniseries and the big Cobra ship that's shaped like a snake comes across in the front, you're just like, oh man. But then, that thing would have to be scaled with Ultimates. It would have to be like the size of a garage, But yeah, there's so much cool stuff out there, and the world of G.I. Joe is so robust. I mean, obviously with vehicles within the Ultimates thing, we did Snake Mountain, then we did Thunder Tank. We're waiting to get a little further on that. It's definitely something as we go through the line with G.I. Joe, where with other lines, it's like vehicles are nice to have, but they're not a need to have. When you get to Joe at a certain point, vehicles become much more like a need to have. They have so much more prominence within the line and so much more prominence within the storylines. So, we're definitely trying to figure out where and when that stuff comes into play.
Yeah. Okay. This is getting a little specific, and I usually don't like to do this, but we've seen some things in other Ultimates lines, like, the glow in the dark Toxies, and the next one that's coming out that's kind of got that dual feature with the UV light and the glow. There are definitely some Joe characters who kind of had that as a part of their gimmick, not only in toy form, but also to help kind of relate themselves, within the cartoon too. I mean, when effects and things like that are a part of a character, I mean, is that something that you guys are going to explore too? I mean, obviously Zartan's like the obvious one that you go to for that kind of thing, but I think people relate that a lot to certain characters.
Definitely. And there's definitely some fun stuff that we're doing or we're thinking about for Ultimates. And there's definitely some fun stuff we're thinking about in Reaction as well. Obviously, in there, we've done really goofy stuff over the years. And there's a couple, things where it really, really makes sense. And it's like, oh man, if we can pull that off, that's that's something very unexpected, but is completely on point. We've got a lot of cool, you know, and I hate to sound coy or weird but it's like for everybody on screen, unfortunately, you know, this is an hour old.
Yeah.
And for us, this is, you know,
You're living in the future, man.
we're having it in a bubble is relatively new. You know,
Yeah.
in the video, I had card backs and loose figures, but in terms of figure design and development and everything else, like we've been in this for quite a while, so we're really far down the road on the next portions of it, and there's some really cool, playful stuff in there. And there's a fine line between like being, you know, like this stuff where it's like we're being really slavish to the cartoon, and it feels just like the cartoon. And then there's definitely moments where we're taking inspiration from within the line and doing unexpected other things that are much more playful with the figures. So there's a lot of cool, fun stuff in here. And I mean, and I'm sorry if I'm on this, but like the amount of time we spent on things like the fact that, you know, we didn't even notice this until partway through, but like Cobra soldiers do not have the minuscule pip collars that do. Like you can't even, you know, in the old toys, they reuse that tooling. But
Right.
like when you go into here, it's like, no, actually the Cobra soldier and the Cobra officer has like, you know, what would be in real life, like a 1/2 inch little collar around the neck. It's not the same. Like there's all these little very subtle differences that we tried to nail in the sculpt so that they're not the same. Like when we get to Cobra Officer, it's a completely different sculpt.
Well,
even though 99% of it's the same, it's like, nope, there's a change in there. He's different.
Well, it's cliche, but the devil is in the details, right? And when you have a property like this with a very dedicated, long-standing, and, you know, oftentimes rabid fan base, it's those little details that you know, are important. So when I look at things like some of the accessories that are packed with the ultimates, or, you know, those fine detailings that, you know, you talk about with costume differences, I mean, that's really a big part of executing kind of along the lines of what you're trying to do, right? And having that attention is really, to me, one of the things that sets these things apart from all the rest.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of time talking about whether or not Cobra Commander's, you know, undershirt, if you will, goes underneath, up his neck underneath, or if it stops halfway, and which version of it is it, the light blue, the medium blue, is it the black, which version stops where, what are the shapes on the collar? Are they the diamonds? Are they the squares? Like, it's inconsistency in the animation, it's evolution of the character along the way, but there's a lot of like little things to check off along the way. And I don't know, that's also what's fun to me about it. It's like, oh, okay, like, you know, he's gonna, you know, like the same thing with the ultimate, like, you know, we have to make this head because that's the toy.
Yeah.
Because the toy doesn't have the silver stripe on the head. And in almost all cases never did. And you're like, well, how did they not put the stripe on the head? You've got to have both heads then. I got to have the stripe and no stripe.
Well, you know, and that's the great thing, because you got guys like me who are just like, holy shit, it's a pink cape, you know. Exactly. But then there are definitely those that will be out there keeping you honest on that type of thing too, right?
But that's okay. That's okay. The fine line is always, you know, at what point is it your opinion versus fact? Because a lot of these times the facts are actually contradictory to each other.
Right.
But yeah, there's, I don't know, I'm looking off screen because I'm looking at the toys clearly.
Yeah.
And just, you know, stuff like this. I'm so excited for this stupid purple backpack.
Yeah. Ooh, and it's shiny.
You know, like, this is going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, these are the kind of things where I'm just like, they haven't really done the jetpack.
Yeah.
Let's do the jetpack.
Well, and pulling the jetpack up is cool, because obviously you know you had your video, but you know, your press pictures and whatnot, those are renders, correct
Yeah,
of the
those are
figures?
great.
Are you guys going to be giving some updates as far as, you know, photography of prototype types of things as we go on, or are you feeling pretty good about things are translating over pretty directly?
Things are translating over pretty well. Obviously, these are prototypes. I'm saying
Mhm.
this because this is the problem you run into with prototypes, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
you know, is that they're not built. These are built to show you what they look like. They're
right.
not built to function. And as we get into test shots and everything else, we will.
Hmm.
But the the problem always is when you photograph outputs and castings and paintings, there's a certain level of
You're kind of
obviously
limited
accuracy that
to
you get.
here and here,
Well,
right?
you glue them into place, and that's kind of all you get.
Yeah,
And then even then, a lot of the tolerances aren't tight enough between joints and everything. And so it becomes this sort of catch 22 with the renderings. We can get it to look much more like the actual thing,
hmm,
but it's still very obvious that it's not a physical rounded form.
right.
And so how the light is bending around it is always, you know, we put the light over here and over here. It's like, well, it doesn't really bend the way real light does.
Yeah,
So it's always this sort of catch 22, but I feel very good about where everything is landed.
yeah,
And, you know, and it's hard to say to somebody that doesn't have a bunch of other toys, where a lot of times people get hung up on a piece of photograph where they're something in the, it's like, when this figure shows up, you'll be stoked. Like
yeah.
it will be everything you've ever wanted it to be.
This definitely, to me, you know, because of what these figures are, especially for me personally, with Ultimates and being based off of the cartoons. Again, you know, we've said it. This hasn't been done before, but as we've got Series 1 out here of this, you know, pretty substantial license announcement from you guys, what is it overall that you want to, you know, just kind of express, maybe, you know, kind of in the parting, that this is what GI Joe times Super 7 is going to mean for the future and for Ultimates and for reaction too?
Well, I think one of those things that people always, at least maybe they used to come back to us with, is like, well, I'm not sure if I'm going to get into this line. I don't know how long it's going to last or where they're going to go. You know, with this line, like getting it approved, I mean, we went in with a huge game plan that covered years and years worth of product. And, you know, this is why, this is how everything builds and stacks onto each other to get to the next level, and how everything functions together. Like, for me, this is the single biggest commitment we've ever made to a
Wow.
license
Yeah.
across everything we've ever done in the 20 years of Super 7. We have
Wow.
never committed to a license at this scale. And, you know, we're making super cyborgs already. People have seen
Hmm.
that. There's several more coming, some really cool ones that
Yeah.
are really unexpected, I think. We've got reaction figures, we've got ultimates. We're going to start doing more apparel. There's a whole bunch of other stuff, you know, we've done in the past. We've done some of the glassware, different things,
Yeah.
where it's like, our plan is to really be in, it sounds weird to say, but like in the GI Joe business.
Yeah.
Like, we're not just making a couple figures and hoping to sell those to you. We're trying to do everything around GI Joe. We're trying to, you know, I'm saying this without any specifics or no idea if it will ever come to fruition the way we talk about it, but like literally, like, come 2022, you know, where is that GI Joe event?
Yeah.
Where is that time that you can come together? For anybody that remembers back when we were really driving Masters, you know,
Mhm.
when we would have something like Skeletor's Lair, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, here's a rug made out of the Dungeon Lair sticker.
It's right over
And
there.
yeah, here we've got rugs, we've got, you know, we're making the world around this. And that's really how we're thinking about GI Joe, is how do I make the world of GI Joe, not just the toys of GI Joe.
Yeah. Now you've got me thinking about a rug of the earth with the snake wrapped around it.
Cobra logo, welcome
Uh-huh.
mat for your front door.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no missing that iconography, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. Bumper
Well,
stickers, license plate holders, light it. No, we're not doing that. But you
We need to
know,
do a voice changer for Cobra Commander, right? And drive everybody's parents crazy.
it's a mask with it in it.
Uh-huh.
There you
Uh-huh.
go.
Yeah.
See, Nick, that's $1 million just waiting to happen.
Let's do it. Well,
Yeah, I think that's the message from us, is that we're really trying to not just simply make GI Joe in plastic. Like,
right.
we really want to get into the heart and soul of GI Joe and really talk about it from top to bottom, and not be limited to only talking about the cartoon.
The commitment at that scale, and with that many different types of expressions that you said transcends, toys and goes across, different lines. That's exciting, because I think that is something that people have really been wanting to see for a long time, and it just hasn't happened until now. I'm excited.
I'm beyond excited. I just, like I said, I know there's going to be some 3 3/4 purists that won't buy our line because it's not O-ring. And to that person, I say, I understand,
Hmm.
but I hope that you can find the joy in what these are, that these aren't trying to be and replace your O-ring figures.
Yeah.
And that this is going to be a really fun line that really makes you feel like you're a kid again.
With Joe, it feels like you've almost completely conquered an entire decade plus, in terms of what I'm going to be able to have on a shelf, in terms of these characters all standing next to each other. And I don't want to get derivative or anything, but I guess I'm just going to say that I'm excited to see where Joe goes, but I'm also excited to see where the hell you guys are going to go next with some of the other stuff that you may be chasing down, because this is very exciting to have two very different executions in Reaction and Ultimates, but kind of accomplishing some common goals in bringing all these different worlds into this one overarching umbrella, and adding that Joe feather to that cap. That's a big deal.
Yeah, and that's why, here for a while, because I've had trouble containing my excitement around it as it becomes more and more real, is like come July, we've got some shit to show you.
Yeah.
And this has been it. I'm ecstatic that we're getting to make this stuff, and I feel like there is so much pent up desire, things that haven't shown up in people's collections yet, and
Yeah.
the fact that we're going to get to do our version of what those are. And I say that because it's our version of it, and there's going to be a lot of people that I'm not making the one that they want to have, and to them, I'm sorry that I'm not making the one you want,
Yeah.
but I'm trying my best to make all the ones that we want, and hopefully those cross over. But I think that this will be a lot of fun for a lot of people.
So Reaction, Wave 1, you said it's going to be hitting in September-ish.
September-ish, meaning it might even get here a hair early.
Okay.
But September is when you should see GI Joe Reaction. Obviously, right now, July 15, Ultimates are available, and but there'll be a wave 2 of GI Joe Reaction and a wave 2 of GI Joe Ultimates out before the end of the year.
Wow.
So, we're in the cadence. This is July. Next round of GI Joe Ultimates should be in November.
Wow.
I think the next round of GI Joe Reaction is December.
Wow.
And yeah, be a lot of cool stuff.
I was going to say, let the wish listing and the speculation begin on that. But all right, you've got a month then to get your pre-orders in for GI Joe Series 1 Ultimates, which includes Duke, Snake Eyes, Cobra Commander, and the Bat. All I can say is I can't wait to see how you're going to follow that up, and it's very exciting. But job well done, congratulations. I can't wait to see all of the things that I can say. This is a big one, and it's exciting to see. But thanks for taking the time to talk to us so quickly about this pretty big announcement, because I probably would have been annoying the shit out of you over the next several days if we hadn't got this done this quickly. Right.
Hey, and I'm excited to finally be able to talk about it, because it's been in the works, and maybe going to happen, and kind of going to happen, and waiting to confirm that it's going to happen for so long that we finally getting it in front of people is just, I can't wait to share it with people, or that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, finally you get to see this, and
Yeah.
hopefully you're as excited about it as I am.
I'm pumped, I'm a day one guy usually for most of them, but I'm like I'm there. So again, thanks for discussing it. I can't wait until we can come back together again and talk about what's next for GI Joe, what's next for some of the other stuff, because we're there's always something going on. So I appreciate you joining us again, and I really do look forward to the next time too.
Me too. Well, thank you as always, Nick.
All right. Well, yo, Joe, and thank you very much. We'll talk soon, Brian. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Bye.